Greetings in the love and light of the infinite creator. I am Andrii Zvorygin, here joined with Fred, Ed, Dan, Adam, and Bene. And we'll be reading the March 22 from 2025. And it's about spirit and fear and healing and lots of interesting topics. We'll probably get through at least part of the session today. All right, take it away, Dan.
All right, Jim channeling. Quo. I am Quo, and with this instrument at this time, we greet each other in the love and in the light of the one infinite creator who is within each being within this circle, with all of the creation, awaiting discovery that each is that known as the creator. We are honored to be asked by you to join your circle of seeking this day, for you to have taken the time out of your busy schedule to come here and join with seekers of like mind with your questions, with your comments, and with your heart open, with a desire to know more about the nature of your being and the nature of reality. We would ask you to utilize very careful discrimination when we reply to your queries with our thoughts. If they do not ring of truth to you, if they do not tell you something that deep inside you already know, leave those thoughts behind. Use only those that remind you of what you are and who you are and why you're here. If you will do this favor for us, we can speak more freely as we reply to your queries. So, with that said, we would ask if there's a query with which we may begin.
Yes, cool. I have a question. I'm unclear on the distinguishing qualities of differences between mind complexes and spirit complexes. I understand that we obtain spirit complexes in the third density, but how do we tell whether the inner work we're doing is rooted in mind or spirit?
I am Quo, and I'm aware of your query, my sister. This is a good question, for the spirit is that which has the least distortion within your total being as the mind body spirit complex. It is that which has become a spark, shall we say, of the Creator. It enlivens your entire being, your mind, your body, and your spirit. It has the broadest view of all of the creation around you and within you that is possible for you to obtain at this point in your spiritual journey. Your mind is that analytical tool that takes a look at everything around you that you experience and estimates its potential utilization on your spiritual path. The mind has a great deal of resources within its memory to utilize in your continuing journey, infinitely back into unity with the one creator. So your mind is the practical side of your beingness. Your spirit is the metaphysical side, the side that has the broader view that the mind can increasingly become aware of and expand this nature of perception of the reality through which you move and the nature of your being as you move through it. Is there a further query, my sister?
No, cool. That was very clear. Thank you. All right. Adam, you look like you're not sure.
I mean, you said it was clear, but what rephrase it in a not their language.
Yes, very good. Fred or Ed or Dan, did you want to?
I'm eating dinner
Yeah,
right now.
I think it was pretty clear, really.
Okay, go ahead, Ed.
Like when you look at it, it's kind of you got your mind complex being kind of the like you said the practical side. So it's like you got the. I'm trying to turn this camera around. Sorry. Okay, so you got like the watcher, the one inside, yeah, the kind of spirit thing. Right, that doesn't really say anything, it doesn't do anything. It observes, it takes everything in. It's like what consciousness is. But then the mind part is the kind of what you think, how you analyze, how you like break down all those things. Like what's that thing about like when you actually think something, yeah, part of the brain lights up when you do it. You do all the processing, but then all that processing has to go through the verbal, like speech processing part to actually turn what you've thought into words so that you understand it. So the thinking's done externally to the observer, really, to you, the consciousness, and then it has to be explained to you with words via the mind complex. So they're two separate things.
So spirit is just everything you observe, and then the mind is the mind putting what it's observing to work.
I think that consciousness, yeah, is all scales. Yeah, like you go down to an atom, it has a certain level of consciousness. You go to a galaxy, it's got a massive level of consciousness. You know, but the actual kind of the ability to do anything with it, to actually have sentience, to actually be able to kind of control and change reality for what it is. I think that is mind. That's the consciousness part that we understand as our personality, as our ego, as the tool we use to explore this reality.
All right, so I have gotten a table contrasting the two. So the mind complex is analytical and memory based, whereas the spirit complex.
Oh, what happened to
is,
DeepSeek? Are you moved back to ChatGPT?
Well, it's Robo-Raw again. Yes.
Yay, Robara!
Yeah, well, I was using Grok before. It's just basically it's kind of on tracking AI. Grok has kind of gotten a little bit dumber lately, and see, Grok is down there, and ChatGPT is now up higher, anyways. So it's kind of it's a moving target to find the best one. 04. So this one is based on 04. Anyhow, let's get back to this because it's kind of off topic. So metaphysical, pure, integrative. Okay, evaluate. So the mind evaluates processes and experiences, focuses on details, patterns, and memory. Tools for making sense of catalysts and choices developed through experience and reflection. And whereas the spirit complex connects with the creator, holds the highest truth available, sees the whole, broader perspective of self and reality, bridge to unity and higher consciousness, awakened through seeking silence and surrender. So, does that make more sense now?
So it sounds like what spirit is whatever resonates.
That's one way of thinking. Yeah, it holds the highest truth available. And so spirit here, there's more to it. Embrace both, but know their roles. Your mind is the practical side of your beings. Your spirit is the metaphysical. The mind works within the known. The spirit reaches for the infinite. Look to the spirit when longing for transcendence. Spirit is less distorted because it is a direct spark of the creator. The spirit's complex offers guidance that is pure and less filtered by illusion. The spirit has the broadest view of all the creation around you, and within that is possible for you to obtain. Inner work rooted in spirit feels expansive. When working from the spirit, insights often come in silence. Dreams or sudden clarity that feels deeply resonant, like you were saying, resonates. Mind-based work may feel like reasoning or problem solving. Yeah, I definitely prefer the spirit led. Let the mind serve the spirit. Ideally, the mind becomes increasingly aware of the spirit's broader view and helps manifest that understanding in daily life. Each is that known as the creator.
And there's
I think that, like both of them are important. Like, lots of people talk about the whole ego death thing, and I used to do it quite often just as a standard practice as a chaos magician. She needs to be me. So, but that's like a big thing, like people like to do that as a way of kind of escaping that mind part. But I think you embrace them both. You need them both.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you definitely kind of like the spirit, from my understanding here, is it's kind of like your intuition, and the mind is your reasoning faculty.
But like that last paragraph on the quote says in their response, they're explaining that how spirit and mind are related because spirit, it says your spirit is the metaphysical side, that side that has the broader view of the mind that increasingly become aware of and expand its nature. So like the spirit allows the mind to expand even further its perception of reality. So they're kind of related because like the greater you increase your spiritual progress, your perception of reality also changing, your reasoning, your logic, thinking. That's my interpretation of this response.
Mm-hmm. Great resource. Yes, is the practical side. Yes, the side of the broader view. Mm-hmm. Okay, So, did we want to move on to the next one? Oh, there's an image that it's making for us. The ChatGPT, the new one, it's better at making images. Oh, look at that. It actually can do text now. Isn't that fancy? And it's not just a bunch of gobbledygook. So analytical memory based, developed through experience. Cool. I am impressed. Okay, so let's go to the next one then. Okay. Is there another query? Hello, Kua. What's the nature of my fear, the fear in my life, and how can I transform it into love and collective empowerment?
I am Quo, and am aware of your query, my sister. Fear is the other side of the coin of love. Fear can become catalyst that when you can describe or discover the cause of fear within your being, you can work with that fear to discover greater portions of your own being that fear has kind of, what we would say, locked down or minimized. For that which you fear seems to be other than who you are, which is the one infinite creator in what we may call a step down nature. You are a young creator, and you can grow more and more into your full creatorship as you work with whatever it is that you fear at any point in your spiritual journey. For there may be fears of one kind or another that serve as catalysts, as stepping stones to help you move further on your spiritual path. This is also seen as the food for growth. So, whatever you fear, face it, embrace it. Look into its being, its origin. How can you accept that which is feared as being a beautiful part of yourself, another piece of in the puzzle of the one creator that exists within your being? Then your love expands to experience and accept more of you and who you are unto your nature of being. At some point in this incarnation or a further incarnation, shall once again become unified with the one infinite creator. Is there a further query, my sister?
No, that's good. Thank you so much. All right. So, fear is the other side of love. Any comments? On that? Hey,
I
Bill.
agree.
How are you
Well-
doing?
Hey, Bill.
Okay. I thought you
There you go.
were at 5. Guess I was wrong.
Mhm. You've got much shorter hair today.
Yep.
Wow.
I cut it myself.
Wow. So here, we were just looking at this section, Into the Heart of Fear, Transforming Fear into Love. You are the young creator. Okay. Gently explore the fear's origin, look into its being, how you can accept that which is feared as being a beautiful part of yourself. Once accepted, fear becomes part of your love, not something separate from it. The act of embracing fear is an act of reclaiming your creatorship. And collective empowerment through inner work. Then your love expands to experience and accept more of you. Fear is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Okay, that sounds cool. So, well, one thing I wanted to mention was that how I like to look at it is that every fear has a spark of love within it. And if you meditate on it, you can find that love and help it grow and, become a better person thereby. So, say, for instance, jealousy. Jealousy is the fear of losing someone. And so, but the spark of love in it is that you love that someone. And so instead of, say, attacking that person out of fear in a jealous tirade, you could go into a space of gratitude saying about all of the characteristics of that person that you're grateful for. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense, anyone?
Yeah. So I liked how you said jealousy is a form of fear. It makes sense to
Yes.
me. Yeah. So would hatred be the same thing, or
Yes. Yes. So I mean, it depends on the example. Um, but usually, yeah, hatred has to do. Okay, go ahead, Fred. Maybe you have an insight for this.
I didn't mean to interrupt you or anything, but I just no. What he was saying about the hatred, it's hatred is really really linked closely to love. People don't realize that. Um, my understanding, and this comes from a psychological perspective more than a spiritual perspective. It's my understanding, coming at it from a psychological perspective, that in order for you to pointedly hate another individual, another self, you had to originally first to have felt some sort of love toward that person. Now, that doesn't indicate, when we have extreme hatred toward world leaders or political figures or whatever, that's more of an idealistic hatred. What I'm talking about is personal. Like if you dislike somebody really, really badly that you personally know, it usually is tied to love in that way. Now, what you've done is you've taken that love and you've attached a fear to it. So that's what makes it hateful. If that makes sense that way. That's how I see it anyway.
Okay. And so I'm actually going to, because it's kind of a big topic. I don't know. There's so many different things that people hate. So I'm going to get a summary of hatred for us from the Confederation and then get us an analysis.
When you're talking about projected hating like that, you're talking about I'm speaking specifically from a human to human perspective on hate, not necessarily idealistic or projective.
Yeah, because I know, for example, the one example that I was thinking of is how the Nazis, well, they found that they only started hating the Jews after they were told that they had to kill them, uh, because they didn't, you know, it was became their job, and they couldn't, you know, kill someone that they had neutral feelings towards, and so they had to develop the hatred as a result of
Yeah, so they
hate.
had clear consciences for what they were doing, just like the police, how they have to deal with people who uh, engage in recreational marijuana use. It's illegal, so they're kind of conditioned to have a certain level of disdain and dislike for anybody who does anything like that because it's been made illegal. So they have to have a mechanism for being okay with what they're doing by attaching the emotion that's appropriate for it.
Mhm.
And before you can get to all that, things have to be vilified. And the Nazis did an incredible job of vilification.
Oh, yeah. Psychological Operations 101.
So here, I've got a summary from the Confederation process by Robora. The Alchemy of Hatred. Okay, so here, Bill, did you want to read it?
Let me see.
Can you see the screen?
Sure.
Okay.
Hatred, according to the Confederation, especially Kuo and Lantwi, is not a force separate from love. It is distorted love. While intense and destructive in its untransformed state, hatred can be used as a catalyst for spiritual growth for self-discovery. This view challenges us not to reject hatred, but to understand it, transmute it, and embrace the lessons it offers.
Okay. Key teachings on hatred.
Hatred is love that has been wounded. Oh, are you gonna? Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay. Hatred is love that which has been hurt badly. Anger is that which comes of hatred. Okay. The Confederation emphasizes that all negative emotions are rooted in love. When love encounters distortion through betrayal, fear, or abandonment, it can calcify into hatred. Understanding this origin allows the seeker to approach hatred not with judgment, but with compassion. Okay. Yes. So I'm just thinking, but it's kind of like the government had betrayed them or abandoned them, but then they took it out on the Jews or something. Anyways, hatred blocks energy centers. Negative emotions are distortions of love. They manifest through the distorted individual by blocking energy. Hatred, like anger and fear, can block the lower chakras, particularly the orange ray, personal power and self worth, and yellow ray, social identity. Healing these blockages involves forgiving the self and others and cultivating compassion. Hatred as catalyst for forgiveness and unity. When the entity fails to love without distortion, the entity must forgive the other, the self, and the situation and the illusion. Hatred offers the opportunity to choose love over separation. Through meditation, journaling, or counseling, one can trace hatred's origin and transform it into understanding, paving the path towards unity. Practical tips. Ask what fear or pain is beneath this hatred. What unmet need or unhealed wound does it represent? Forgiveness practice. Direct forgiveness towards self and others. Include the illusion in the situation. All our teachers. Meditation on light. Visualize the blocked emotion. Bring it into the heart and surround it with light and acceptance. Hatred is not evidence of failure, but a call for deeper healing. The most positive souls may feel hatred more sharply because they process catalyst more sensitively. When accepted and worked with, hatred becomes a portal to greater love, deeper compassion, and refined service to others. Those hatreds are only reflecting the feeling for the self. Thus, it is the self that must be turned to in forgiveness and total compassion.
It's kind of wild. I never thought to forgive the illusion.
Forgive the illusion? Go ahead. Explain what you mean.
I mean, that's what they were saying. They were saying, forgive yourself, forgive the other self, forgive the illusion.
Yes. Well, it's the whole of creation, I guess. You know, it's like those people who curse at God, for example, or something like this. That they're basically cursing the illusion. I would think, but I'm not sure. I'm still a little bit lost as to what is hatred exactly. So, what is hatred exactly, according to the Confederation?
Hey, what are you reading, Andrii?
Well, this so basically what we just did is I took all of the quotes from the Confederation that have the word hatred in them, and now I'm getting ChatGPT to process them, and so basically they're saying hatred is a distortion of love. 1988, 1009, and it results from energy blockages. They manifest through the distorted individual blocking energy and trapping this energy in the center involved in the difficulty. Okay, these blockages cause internal separation and confusion, reinforcing illusion. So I guess that would explain why forgiving the illusion would help, because, well, the hatred reinforces it. So forgiving it kind of makes it softer. It's not meant to be suppressed or condemned. It is meant to be transmuted. So it's painful. The entity must forgive the other for the self, the situation, and the illusion. If you want, we can try to find that quote. And the illusion. All right. In essence, hatred is a twisted branch of the tree of love, one that longs to be straightened by the hands of self-awareness and the sunlight of compassion. Its presence is a call not for judgment, but for healing. Okay. So, does that help, guys? Yeah? Okay.
So basically, what it's saying is when you see people spouting huge, voluminous amounts of negativity and hatred and anger and very harsh things that get said on the internet for various reasons,
Mm-hmm.
or in reality, it's that person is basically screaming to you that they have not fully forgiven themselves and had compassion on themselves.
Yes. That's exactly what's going on. Basically, all being upset with someone else is that there's a part of yourself that you haven't learned to forgive and love. Here, this is the paragraph that it's from. The effort this takes is the utmost an entity can make, and when that utmost is not enough, when the entity which seeks fails to love without distortion, the entity must immediately begin to forgive the other self, the self, the situation, and the illusion. The illusion is designed as an ordeal, indeed, as a series of ordeals, within which again and again each soul chooses the positive path of unity, peace, joy, love, and light, or the negative path of discord, despair, hatred, and darkness. When the periods of darkness strike without warning, they are needed, for each entity has all the varieties of humanity within the self. The most positive entity can be negative. The most negative entity can be positive. The distortion fools each as it ought and as it must. In the end, we must move toward the meditation as our primary suggestion for acquainting the self more and more with an undistorted love, a light which does not fail. In short, we recommend the daily meditation, the reading of thought-provoking or inspirational material, and contemplation upon that material, and the attendant praise and thanksgiving for the moment of consciousness.
What is the quote that you're reading right now, Andrii?
So that is the one about forgiving the illusion that Adam was referring to.
Okay,
Yes.
because that's very striking, and I know again we're going meditate. Yeah, okay, but what that's saying is that it doesn't say that the happiness, joy, love, and forgiveness strike without warning. It's saying that the darkness strikes without warning. So that's where when they're saying that all of us are capable of these negative things, when that darkness strikes without warning, it's kind of rattling our cage to show us we are capable of those dark things. And that's where things like PTSD come in, where someone sees carnage or violence or some sort of breach of free will in a very drastic way. And it shocks them into the reality of we are all capable of doing this to another person or to something else. And it's discordant. It's a blow of cognitive dissonance for someone, and it causes what we refer to as PTSD. And what they're saying is the very first thing for that healing process to take place is meditation, of course. But it's just very interesting that it specifically points out to something that I've said to people, I've had said to me by an older friend of mine many, many years ago. And he told me, he's like, that everyone's going to get that phone call at 3 a.m. that someone was in a car wreck or someone's sick or someone got a diagnosis or someone passed away. But no one's going to accidentally end up on the beach with their kids and their, friends. You have to plan those things. So purposely being positive and loving is the goal, you're always going to have the negative. So you have to be prepared, and you have to also, plan and do the positive. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, it's all good. I just wanted to say two things. One is that, well, at least my understanding, my very limited understanding of PTSD, is that it's unprocessed catalyst. Somewhat like what you said, it's a traumatic experience that someone had, but they hadn't processed it either as with forgiveness or with fear, anger, control, and so it remains just like. And then it keeps coming back because they just push it down and like, oh, I don't want to think about this right now, and then they remember it again, and then they're like, no, I don't want to think about this, and then they're fighting with this catalyst that keeps presenting itself to them, but it's actually all they have to do is pick a side, say forgiving and loving and being kind to the catalyst, and then secondly, in terms of spontaneous joy, I mean, I think that can happen as well. The only thing that we know for sure is that catalyst will continue to occur, but how you interpret that as a positive or a negative thing, that is more personal. And then also, if you say, for instance, gratitude work for the things that you like, then you actually are more likely to experience more things to be grateful for. It's kind of like the creation rewards an experience. If you're having an experience where you're focused on the negative things that happened, and that's where most of your emotional affect is coming from, then the universe will give you more negative catalyst so that you can have more emotions. But if you're instead having emotions focused on what you're grateful for, and that's your main emotional affect, then the universe will give you more things to be
Getting
grateful
it
for.
on live, but in the picture, I'm trying to get the.
All right. So does that make sense, guys? Or yes, no, maybe?
Sorry, I couldn't hit my button. Yeah, that makes sense. I agree.
Okay, cool. All right. Sounds good. So I'm having trouble posting this. Oh well. So let's go on to the next one then. Here's the other side of love. I am cool. We thank you, my sister, for your query and your open heart. Oh wait. We're okay. I have one. Hi, cool. It's nice to be here as always. I had a question on semantics that I would just like your opinion on. In my studies of some of the Native American traditions, I came across a book called Universal and Spiritual Laws of Creator. I believe it's Lakota. I might be wrong, but it's a set of channel material, and it speaks of the law of one. It's very beautiful, and that group that they're channeling, they call themselves from the Orion. I don't think it's the same Orion that Ross spoke to, because I know that's a huge part of space where multiple star systems. I just wondered if you could comment on it and had an opinion about it. Dan?
We are sorry, Quo.
Okay, go.
We are those of Quo, and we are aware of and appreciate your query, my sister. This is a particularly interesting line of questioning, as semantics are indeed important and ultimately potentially fallible, as we all know. Language can take on many different facets, can express many different ideas, and in its inherent infinity can create paradoxes and confusions. And so, we understand the desire to tease out, if you will, from the language that you use, the words that you speak, and that you write, to understand the truth behind those words. What do they mean? How do they translate? We can say that the naming of certain entities and various belief systems may mirror those in others, and that may cause confusion in your experience, wherein there is a group that identifies itself as those of Orion, when you have heard in other schools of thought, namely those of the Confederation, that there are entities also known to you as Orion. However, we would state that these names may not necessarily mean that they are of the same identity or of the same group. Instead, we would suggest that there is always potential overlap, potential reuse of words, of names, potential mistranslations. We would say that while we cannot state specifically that they are completely separate, we can suggest that what is ultimately important is the use of the information you get from these entities, from this material, and how it impacts your journey, how it impacts you in your heart, in your soul. If in scanning this material from these beings, your heart feels it comes from a place of love, that it is sourced from something outside of that which you know as fear, and if it feeds you in your spiritual journey toward the one creator in a way that is loving and accepting and open hearted, that releases judgment, then we would say that that is the utmost importance. That name may be left aside. If the material you scan creates any sense of fear or judgment, if it does not inspire, if it does not spark beauty within you, if it does not translate to acceptance and love, then perhaps that is the greater message rather than the name itself. And so, hearing that this material has importance to you and resonates, we feel that that is perhaps the more important piece of their identity, that their energetic signature is one that speaks positive feelings and sensations, that motivates one in seeking, that inspires the heart and the soul. That is the true identity rather than the use of the sound vibration complexes you may use. We understand that this can be quite confusing. There have been many times when there have been many entities named many names. And so again, we just caution that one use one's own discernment in the way that one interfaces with the material and release the attachment to the name itself. May we ask if there's a follow-up query, my sister?
No, that was clear. Thank you. Okay. Well, I think that was pretty straightforward.
That was clear.
Yes. This is just like, yeah, they might be
Great.
using a different name. That's
It's frustrating and confusing for us in 3D because we rely on names so heavily for dissemination of where what comes from, what time period, what angle something's coming from. We divide everything up with names and countries and you know all kinds of things. We divide things up with, and we have to name all those different things. I mean, look at the different names of the things on a parts for a car. I mean, there's a million different names for things.
Names are systematic.
It gets frustrating for us because what you have is people, especially when people start asking questions, people that are like neophytic to the material, they will be asking specifics: where, when, who, you know, very, very pointed specifics. And a lot of times you see people, you know, go, well, that's not really important what the name is. Well, no, it is sometimes in the mind of the person that's asking the question because they don't understand this. How do you handle that?
Dan?
Yeah, I just felt like names are like labels, and it's meant to separate. And you know, hey, I feel this way, so I'm part of this group. You know, and it's also meant to deceive because you know, like if there's trust in the name, right? So there's you're supposed to trust someone named with the title, right? Like your boss or stuff like that. So that has power, and you're supposed to trust and give into that rather than trust your own instinct, right? So I see names and labels like part of a system meant to just control you from thinking, using your instincts.
Yeah, like brands and stuff. Trademarks. Ed, go ahead.
No, like I totally agree with Dan on that. What I was going to say was that I think the main thing in there is you can read any material at all. Doesn't matter who says it. Doesn't matter whether they're positive, negative. It's about whether they are from Orion or whatever. It's what you take from it and what you do with it that's important.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was one of the things that they said. You know, that like one of my favorite. One of the things I trust the most is the hidden hand material, and it's the bad guys. But everything they say is spot on. So because of the fact that it resonates, it's exactly the same as Ra. It fits in perfectly with the little system that they've created. That they describe. So I trust it. Yeah, and it's the same with anything. If you read it and it fits. I trust it.
And it
Seth,
resonates.
like there's lots of sources that I read and I'm like, yes, this is spot on. There's others that I'm like, yeah, I don't know whether I trust that bit. So I don't know that. I don't think you know what you're chatting about. But so yeah, I think that's the most important takeaway. Doesn't really matter what the material is. Doesn't matter what their name is. It's what you take from it and what you do with it.
Great points. Okay, so next query. I'm very grateful to be here with you and to be here with the group. My question has to do with the fear that we have all been talking about today and how we can best be of service to help all of our fellow brothers and sisters work through their own fears as well as our own. I seem to see people in my life and in other people's lives here that go through the same sort of fear, and I would really like to be able to help them. Can you speak on this, please?
We are those of Quo, and we receive and appreciate and understand your query, my brother. As mentioned before, fear is the opposite side of this coin of love and understanding, and therefore being two faces of this same dynamic. We can understand that there is a particular pattern or cycle that those on this planet may experience, this sensation, this emotion. From our universal view, looking down upon you on this planet and seeing this classroom which you chose for yourself, we can empathize that you experience fear, that you have designed this particular stage upon which you dance to provide elements that create the environment for fear. And we do not mean to invalidate that fear by speaking to it. We simply mean to provide our own perspective about the greater play that you participate in when experiencing this fear. We can understand its discomfort and how it may influence your actions or your thoughts, and how it can cause one to close the heart, to move more inward, to separate itself, not only from other self, but from the creation itself, though creation itself is inherently and always tied. It can darken the veil, make it thicker, seemingly more unable to be penetrated. Fear is the creation of that illusion within the illusion that makes one feel so separate, and we can understand how the environment on this planet can produce such an experience. You came here in this incarnation to learn the lessons of love and acceptance, to work beyond the fear and the judgment, but you did so with the understanding that it would be challenging, that there would be work to do, that work is of a positive nature, that the way you interface with one another would be catalyst, that the way you view and see the environment would create this catalyst as well. And so when you are in this experience of fear, we would humbly suggest first that one exercise much grace for the self, that one view oneself as the mother towards the child, that one have much patience and empathy, knowing that you are simply reacting to and experiencing this illusion, that you are attempting to make sense of it, that you are placing the costume upon the self on this stage of experience. Once one has been able to immerse oneself in that grace and allow oneself that space to be in fear, we would suggest focusing on that fear. One may do the balancing exercising of increasing that fear, taking it to its extreme with an intentional space of silence, allowing oneself to feel that fear fully, knowing that one is always safe and held, allowing all those sensations to boil up within the self in the cycles of meditation, and then seeing it for what it is, as simply this sensation, and in that space issuing a genuine apology and a genuine forgiveness, allowing it to become the self, envelop the self, seeing it for what it is, accepting, forgiving, and eventually releasing. We understand that saying that is potentially far, far easier than actually practicing. But we would assure you that continued practice and meditation with these particular types of exercises are very helpful and can allow oneself to release oneself from the binds. Now, another element to releasing that fear is the exercising of faith, the knowledge that you are always and ever held by the Creator, that everything is perfectly imperfect, that every experience is intentional, that everything is divinely designed to provide the catalyst whereby the choice of love is made. That is ultimate faith. That is the practice of faith. That is the empowerment of faith. Remind the self in these moments where you're attempting to forgive and release the fear that you are an internal being simply on this small experience, much like a traveler going between destination and destination. You are simply in this moment, in this body as this entity, but your soul is eternal and forever. This fear, this experience will be gone, will move away to make room for something new, and the cycle will continue on and on. You will greet and meet fear again, but each time, with intentional practice, the heart will move and grow and more open fully. The strength in your will and the foundation of faith that you are building becomes ever stronger, becomes more integral to your being. And though the body may change, though your identity may change, your name may change, even your planet may change, that foundation of faith and purity of your heart are both like baggage that you will take with you throughout your eternal experience. They're always there to tap into. They're always there to inform you. You simply can take the time to ground yourself, reorient yourself, and remind yourself of the open heart and of the faith. We understand that there are those upon this planet who have coined the term faking it until you make it. And sometimes that particular practice is also helpful. If one can recite affirmations and mantras in regards to your fear, telling oneself, as we spoke earlier, I am strong, reminding oneself that I am internal, I am powerful, I am the creator, I am source and love and perfection, then there is not a thing that can sway you in the eternal walk that is the incarnation beyond this incarnation, the everything, the unity, the oneness that is all. Reminding oneself that there will be cycles of this in nature. Having the grace and patience for the self, taking the time to process and integrate fear, accept it and love it, and release it without judgment are all powerful exercises. And in response to the second portion of the question of how one may respond to and be of service to those around one who are in fear, we would state that much of the same. The going to the other with much grace, the extending of the extending of one's hand, the opening of one's arms, the embracing of the other self as a mother to a child, the seeing them for their fear and holding them close, knowing that they too are blinded in this illusion that we play in, that they too are attempting to make sense of the things that seem very frightening or confusing, and knowing that deep down these are all lessons, and that in that moment you are providing lessons to one another, the lesson of faith, the lesson of acceptance, the lesson of compassion. The lessons are always there and always present. In so doing, these actions of compassion, of love, of grace, one may impart upon the other in fear those same values, that they can have grace for themselves, that they can accept fear, that they are strong, stronger than this identity that they attach themselves to on this planet, that they are perfect, and that what is the ultimate mantra of this experience, all is very much well. all will very much be well. Every step on this journey was pre-designed by those who walk it to give you these experiences, whereby you learn more of yourself as a creator and more of other self as the same creator. Simply walking that path with that other self, listening, truly hearing, understanding, accepting, and sharing your own light are ways to accept the self and other self from these spaces of darkness and into the greater light of what you may call reality, that being the love expanse of the creation. We would ask if there's a follow up to this query, my brother.
It's a beautiful answer. Thank you, my friend. All right, that was a long one. So, what do you guys think? Yeah, thanks, Dan. Benny. Oh, do we see the White House? You're going to show us the White House? Do Benny? Okay. I guess Benny can hear us, maybe. All right.
No, I can hear you, but I was there for like 10 minutes. So we'll walk back.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
I will be back. I'm like about a football field away.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you'll get to see the whole fucking thing. I just don't want to piss off Secret Service. So,
Oh, fair enough.
all right.
All right. So, does anyone have any comments on the processing of fear passage that we just read?
I'd say in meditation, I have done that whole thing of pushing fear as far as you can. You know, and actually
Okay.
kind of like just disappearing into how like deep and scary and horrible everything can be. And then kind of pulling yourself out of it and like knowing that you're amazing and fighting the demons and being victorious. Yeah. Meditation rules.
Mm-hmm. Oh, hi, Grace. Did you want to chip in? Or okay, because you guys are talking in the chat. Can you talk on the live stream? Because people can't see the chat.
Hi, Grace.
On the live.
No, I think she's having technical difficulty. A lot of people having technical difficulties.
Oh, really?
No,
Oh, strange.
I had one thought about this. So, how is it that hate and fear tie together? I know there's a way that the distortions tie together. When they're talking about overcoming fear, fear comes from a different place than hate does, distortion wise.
The way I understand it, yeah, is realistically every single emotion at all is just a distortion away from love.
Correct.
Everything. Mm-hmm. So really, when you talk about fear is just basically being the furthest part that you can get away, because it's the absolute separation. You know, but hate is when you get there. Why are you here? Yeah, why? There's lots of reasons why hate would be linked. Or hate, once again, is going to be a huge amount of separation away from love. But once again, it's going to be like as far as you can possibly go. So they're going to be linked in some way of, you know, how far you can push the separation, with love being the kind of attractive force that pulls everything back together.
Interesting. Well, we can check the summary here that was made by our robot friend. And so, holding fear with grace, being service amid the illusion. Oh, also, I wanted to mention, why did I decide to go back to ChatGPT? Is actually that I read that it was a big fan of the Virgin Mary. Apparently, I was reading a bunch of posts that basically ChatGPT is Christian. And I was like, well, then I guess I can use it, even though I may not agree with some of the creators. Okay, so fear is the opposite side of fear. Cold love. Fear is part of the plan. You came here to learn the lessons of love and acceptance, to work beyond fear and judgment. Yes. We'd humbly suggest first that one exercise must be as much grace for the self. Yeah, you have to love yourself to love others. And like love really transcends fear. Allowing it, all those sensations to boil up and then seeing it for what it is. Everything is perfectly imperfect. That is the ultimate faith. Yes, it's true.
Love that. That's an awesome quote.
Yes, it is. It is. It's one of those really perfect in one's imperfection. That's something that is so universal. Like, I forgive you and love you in your perfect imperfection. Your service to others begins with compassion, embracing the other self as a mother to a child, simply walking that path with the other self. Yes. That is wonderful. Be gentle, hold their hand with your heart. Reflect faith, not through words, but through your calm presence. Affirm love. I am eternal. I am source and love and perfection. Wow. Fear is part of the play. Your role is love. That's good. Yeah. Oh, man. I think that this Confederation stuff is really having an effect on me because, like, I'm starting to have trouble relating to negative emotions because I just have them so rarely now. I'm just always in different stages of bliss and joy. I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that.
I
See, I
wouldn't
find
call
the
it
further I'm going
different.
down the path, the more the harder the catalyst is getting. It's like
Yo,
I've really got to learn every single lesson, man.
so
Every single one.
we're here.
Oh, look, it's the White House, guys. Wow, look at that.
Yep,
The Confederation.
Thank you, Ben.
The White House.
no problem.
Yeah. Cool.
That's pretty
Well,
cool.
I'm light. Wow. Oh, there's
Awesome.
a gate around it, a fence, eh?
Well,
Okay.
no, there's a fence, but like this is the nearest fence. So if
Oh, okay.
you look, like they just let people in here to look. That's how good President Trump is to people right now. It's usually not like this, but on the other side of the lawn, when Clinton was president,
Yeah.
that's where they landed the airplane. Like it doesn't look that big, but it's 56 rooms. So
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
Hey,
yeah, so
B,
that
stand in front of it and so I can snap a selfie for you.
all right.
Group meeting.
Well,
I'll send
we
it to you.
care. I don't know how good it's gonna show out, but so
Great
pretty.
smile, man.
Wait.
There you go. I got you. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, but let's get out of here. There's other places we could go look, but
Okay.
I'm glad to show you guys all over the world this stuff. I don't know who's watching on the live stream, but we do talk some common sense. So,
Yeah.
Dude, you're awesome. Love you, man.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
yep.
Spreading those energies of love and kindness, even in DC. That's another thing to be grateful for. All
I
right.
was going to say, what's been happening to you lately, Andrii, talking about not feeling the negative emotions, is that you're processing catalyst real quickly. And you're processing in such a way, negative things aren't affecting you. So it's really good, in my view, how you've been able to transmute whatever's been going on in this world as far as catalyst goes for you.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you've got the correct assessment there. Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's just that I've just gotten more effective and faster at processing the catalyst as it arises. Yeah. And and then also we do like I do daily prayers, well multiple prayers a day now, I have my own personal prayers, and then I have prayer with my youngest child, and prayer with my wife, and then prayers with my family. And so usually they all have gratitude and some elements of calling on the infinite creator and things like that. I think that also helps. All right. So did we kind of get the last drops out of this overcoming fear bit? Or anyone else have any questions on it?
I'm afraid we have.
Very funny, man. All right. So, Weirdos of Kuo. Okay, I have a question, Kuo. I've been wondering how to best support what can be referred to as gifted children, intellectually gifted, that may have aspects of what we call attention deficit disorder on this plane, as well as sensory sensitivities and sensitivities in general. I know that a lot of seekers may have felt like this when they were a child or presented as gifted, and how it doesn't seem as if some of our current structures are really built to support these type of individuals. So I was wondering if you had some advice for parents, teachers, caregivers, or how to support these children in their spiritual growth and assist them in making sense of being different in this density from their peers. Dan?
I am Quo, and we appreciate your query, my sister. You have asked the question which is most significant at this time within your illusion, as there are more of these gifted children being born into the third density to become those, as you may call, way showers.
Way showers.
Oh, sorry, way showers. Thank you.
But yes, you're right. It's spelled the same way. Okay, go ahead.
Those who use their gifts to expand the perception of the nature of reality, not only within their own being, but within those who are their caregivers, their parents, their friends, their teachers. We would suggest that this type of a gifted child is very sensitive to all inputs of energy and information that comes into his field of perception, and that it is well to see that such a child is treated as one who knows much more than most children and needs a more individualized type of teaching or education. This individualization of education may take whatever form you intuitively feel would be helpful to the child. We would suggest that you invite the child to join you in times of meditation in order that both of you might, shall we say, get on the same wavelength and find within each the still small voice of the one creator that can guide each of you in the process of education of the child. This is a process that will, of necessity, need to become individualized in each field of endeavor so that the child's needs are seen and felt both intuitively and intellectually to be of whatever nature is of the moment. This requires a great deal of energy on the part of any teacher or parent so that the child may have its needs recognized and met in a way that is most able to grasp. There is the possibility of looking within the experience of the child and seeing and feeling and intuiting how it is responding to the efforts that you teach or anyone teaches, so that it may be enhanced in those areas where it is perhaps falling short of its own expectations. This will allow you and the child to move more in rhythm, which the natural learning process provides for each seeking soul that incarnates within this third density illusion in order to discover more of the nature of its own being as the one creator, the nature of the world about it being the one creator, the ability of the child to see how this one creator in all things is expressing itself through the child. This is a process that will not end, even after this incarnation is over, but it is a process that will be enhanced so much more during the incarnation for the gifted child and for the average student of their density at this time. The open heart of parent, teacher, friend, or neighbor is that which is the most helpful food for growth. The acceptance of the child as it is, so that it may move further along its spiritual path at an earlier age than most are able to. The open heart, the intuition, the desire to serve, the meditative state, these are the tools that we would recommend that you utilize with the gifted child that you have been blessed to bring him to incarnation. Is there a further query, my sister?
No, thank you. I think that's a good assessment. That's kind of what I strive to do with my children. Like like I just said, meditate with the one that's willing to meditate, because the older one is not. And just interacting with them with an open heart. And yeah, so I think that's yielded.
Your older one's like, what's all this nonsense going on?
Yes, basically, yeah.
Gotta love free will.
Yeah. Well, I think
and attitude.
Yes.
Which change.
But let me impart one thing, being a Washingtonian my whole life, and my family literally being right down here by the White House since 1930. When a president comes as a Washingtonian, there's a shit ton of liberals, I would call myself a blue dog, but everybody still welcomes the president with an open heart. I mean, this is the place that we live in. You understand? So, it's completely different. Even from a few miles down from Maryland. I've been here since 1990. My grandpa came here in 1930. So, and our buildings that we owned are right down the street from there. So, that's all I could tell you, but the whole country's going to have their own opinions. Everything is going to be split. You just see how it plays out. Right now, they run everything. So there's nobody that can say anything until the point of the next preliminary. So that's all I'll tell you, but let me run. I'll be on, but I'm going home. So I'm glad I could take y'all here, though.
Okay, what are we looking at now? Or... Oh, this is just the bus stop? Okay. That's cool. Yeah, well, thanks for showing us around. Yeah. All right. So here, let's have a look at the ChatGPT breakdown. Who are these gifted souls? Is Grace still with us? No. Anyhow, these children are described as way showers, being born into
Sorry.
To help elevate perception, consciousness, and spiritual awareness, not only in themselves, but in those around them. They carry different vibrations and often appear sensitive and tense or different from their peers. It's not a deficit, it's a divine gift. Those who use their gifts to expand the perception of the nature of reality. Tools for supporting gifted children spiritually. Treat them as already wise. These children often come in with deep spiritual awareness. Respect their insights, their questions, and their seeming complexity. Yeah, like my younger child, he often does meditation and stuff. And well, my older child, he's extremely smart as well. Create individualized learning environments. There's no one size fits all for these beings. Tune into what each child needs through observation and intuition. This requires a great deal of energy so that the child may have its needs recognized and met. Yeah, you have to, spend time with your kids and get to know them and find out what they need and listen to them and all that. Meditate with them. Co-meditation also helps the line's vibrations. This joint stillness allows both children and adult to hear the still small voice of the Creator. Yeah. Well, I think we may still be working on it, but definitely working on it. Use heart-centered intuition. Go beyond intellect. Feel into what the child is communicating, even non-verbally. Sense where they thrive or struggle, not just based on performance, but based on presence and peace. Yeah, sometimes even just like being there, like if they're having a hard time and just doing some breathing and setting that good example helps them to calm down. The long view. This is a lifelong process. Kua reminds us that the spiritual journey of the gifted child doesn't end with childhood. In fact, it's a lifelong unfolding. The caregiver's role is not to shape the child into conformity, but to help reveal what is already divine within them. This is a process that will not end even after the incarnation is over. What they need most, the open heart, the acceptance of who they are, the desire to serve, not mold, the space to be, not perform. And final reflection, raising or teaching a gifted child is not merely a responsibility, it is a sacred partnership. These children are not here to fit in, they are here to help us remember who we are. Through love, presence, and shared silence, we walk beside them, not as authorities, but as fellow seekers. All right, so that sounded nice. Fred, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say that based on pretty much every point there, it is very evident how important the family structure, the family unit is in that. Because in
Yes.
times past, what you would have is usually the matriarchal figure was the one in the home and stayed in the home most of the time. I remember just and luckily, thankfully, I experienced this at least for a short while growing up. My great grandfather, when my great grandma died, my great grandfather moved in with my grandparents. So every day when I was a little kid, my parents, my dad went to work. I was dropped off at my grandparents who were on the farm where, they took care of the animals. My great grandpa was there and I had all these interactions with the older family members, my grandma, my grandpa and great grandpa. So you're getting that structure and that very patient, time consuming nurturing of, because a small child, details matter, and little tiny things, just being kind in the simplest fleeting moments makes an impression on a child that no one really understands until you examine your own childhood. When you start talking to somebody and they say, "Oh, I remember when I was a little kid and so Uncle so and so came through and he stepped on my toy animal or toy car or something and broke it, and being a jerk," and it impacted them. So if it impacts you negatively, it's also going to impact you positively. And so many people, so many times, and almost the vast majority of family dynamics today, you do not have a multi, generation mix of matriarchal and patriarchal figures in a family structure to enable group meditation. Who's going to meditate with a child this day and age? Hardly anyone, unless it's a grandma or a grandpa type figure. Very, very few. So those are the types of people that engage very openly and very easily in those types of things with children. And it's so important. And I think maybe that's just my 2 cents on it, but maybe focus more on really, I would like to see more people focus on promoting strong family structures, not demonizing what's already there so much. I think we do better with promoting than with tearing things down. So that's my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I have a question though.
Okay, go ahead, Benny.
So, like, we're talking about this. So, like, when I was 5, right, my father took my stuffed animals from me and said, "Men don't sleep with stuffed animals." Would you consider that traumatic if, Robert LaFow or somebody did that to you?
If it affected you in some negative way, that's trauma. That's exactly what it is. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right. It still hurt. That's all I wanted to know.
Yeah. I know, like, when we were moving to Canada, I had to leave most of my toys behind in Ukraine. That was a sad thing for me. And my parents were like, "You could get more toys," but we were like really poor when we got here, so I didn't have more toys. I just had my little teddy bear. I had a frowning teddy bear from the Soviet Union because the stuffed animals in the Soviet Union were very serious. They did not smile.
Right. And I
Um,
do know that. I've seen them. You're right. But
yeah.
let me go. I'm going in 11, but I will talk to y'all soon. Love you guys. Bye.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So,
I was going to say the family is the way that the creator has set it up, or the logos has set it up, to where we first get to learn and understand about the idea of service. And it's also in the family when we pre-incarnatively choose family members. A lot of times, or I think most of the time, we choose entities that will give us the most catalyst we can deal with. So it's a very kind of unique but common thing, the way the logos has set up the family interactions in this present incarnation, this place. So
in this illusion.
yeah, so it's and that's why a lot of the STS forces are always trying to hammer the family and tear it apart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and well, generally speaking, usually rural areas help with traditional families, but well, the Mennonites and the Amish seem to be the most successful at maintaining those traditional families, but they also go to church on Sundays. And I know that when what was it, Fred was going to church, he was having a traditional family, and things were going pretty well. It's unfortunate that their pastor turned evil, but yeah, I guess it is what it is sometimes. But I know,
Were you talking about me?
yes, I'm talking about you.
Oh,
You had a traditional family before, right?
well, yeah.
When you guys were still going to church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But then,
No, our we didn't have a good pastor.
yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. You didn't have a
Oh
good
no,
pastor.
that had nothing to do with why I'm divorced.
Oh, well, but did it happen not long afterwards, or how did it go?
Oh, the church thing. We quit going to church in 2007.
Oh,
I
I
got
see.
divorced 10 years later.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't right away. Anyhow, but yeah, at least from the structure of society, like a lot of it has to do with the culture that you're in. I know with the Mennonites that I'm with, they have a very uh divorce is an unforgivable sin basically. So no one is divorced there. Everyone is has a lifelong marriages and things like this. And we have like parents and grandparents and great grandparents and their children all together in the same church, all worshiping together, and it's very beautiful to see. So it is possible, and it is in a rural area, so that makes it easier to maintain because well, you don't have the urban kind of things pulling you in different directions. And then
Right.
almost
And-
every
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
almost everyone there has a where the husband is the main income provider and the wife is usually either a stay-at-home mom or works at as a nanny or something like this. Well, not a nanny, like a daycare or something like that. Works with children, basically.
But I did want to say, since I know a couple of the Mennonite families out here, the Schoenbergers are one of them, and they had a couple in there church, and it's in their, what would you call it? Their umbrella of the church,
Mm-hmm.
their
The
group,
fellowship.
their fellowship. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the couple, because they're not allowed to divorce, they're not really allowed to do that. They don't recognize it. It's not.
Yeah.
It's not an option. It's not optional. So I know there has to be something available if two people absolutely hated each other. And I asked the one guy, Raymond, when I went to the food market the one day, I was talking to him and I said, "Would you guys ever have a problem with a couple that like absolutely hated each other?" Because they were asking me questions because they knew I was divorced and I'm a minister, and they were really curious about it. So it did start a conversation. I asked, I said, "Well, you ever have any of that?" And he said, "Yeah, we had this couple," and they named them, and they said they just didn't get along, and they tried counseling. The bishop talked to the husband, the wife, the I guess the bishop's wife talked to the wife, and he talked to the husband, and they could not work it out. So the community, one, they loved them both. They weren't bad people, and they just didn't get along.
Okay.
And so what they did was they allowed them to live in separate households, and they both had to take care of the children. You know, the taking care of the children is a community thing. It's not just you have the kids, I have the kids. There's, community involved. So they're never not near each other. They just didn't want to live together, and it was accepted in that community that they just didn't live together. They were not allowed to be in any relationship with any other people, and they didn't want to be. So it worked out, and they just kind of don't really talk about it.
I see. So they kind of are separated but not divorced.
Right. It's a loophole, I guess. And that's good, because that was always my concern. Like if you get kind of, I don't know, cornered, or you're expected to be married pretty young, in your 20s, I would imagine, when you're, Mennonite. So if you make a really poor decision based off of some distortion that you haven't worked out yet, and you hook up with a partner that 10, 20 years down the line, holy cow, I would rather like tap out than have to deal with this person for 70 years. There has to be an option. Because I mean, in a community with 10,000 people, maybe there's one or two couples that's going to happen to. There has to be a loophole somewhere, and I'm glad there's at least some way they worked it out.
Hey, so I just wanted to show you. So this is a fucking duck, right? In my entire life, I haven't seen a duck down here once. I think that's a sign. But like this, there's pigeon. There's no mallards ever down here. So I've never seen it in my entire life. Like maybe farther out, but it might be. Yep.
That might be someone's pet, Benny.
Is it a real duck? Oh, it is a real duck.
Okay. Don't make it get hit by a car.
Oh, it's flying away.
I've never seen that in all my years.
It's probably wanting to put a nest on the lake at the White House.
Right. Yeah, it might. There's no lake, but there's a fountain. But he's back looking at us. He's just looking. So
it's a sign that the swamp will reclaim the swamp.
I don't think it will be the swamp anymore. I mean, I know what the swamp is, and it's totally different than what you think it is.
Well,
there's such.
I was reading recently that from the Confederation, that birds are a sign of deceased, or can be anyways. So I don't know, because you were recently talking about your dad or whatever. I don't know if that's related or.
It might be my dad. It might be, but they're watching me, and it just quacked. So I'm gonna let you all go. I've never seen that though in my life. So.
Yeah, there you go. It is a sign of some sort. You could meditate on what it means.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's the last paragraph. Dan, are you still with us? Hello?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Here you go. Okay. So here, you want to read the last bit?
I don't agree with the duck, but I'm here.
Okay. You don't agree with the duck? Okay.
I am Quo, and we thank you, my sister. We thank each entity here today, each seeker of truth, each facet of the one Creator, for joining us in this circle of seeking the all-in-one. You have been most inspirational to us. We look upon your journeys in the third density as being the most difficult journey you will ever take. This is the one which lays the foundation for all future experiences in the succeeding densities that you experience as seekers of truth. And this is what you all are here to help each other do. We are amazed at the love and light that this circle has formed. It reaches high into the heavens and alerts the angelic presence of your being of love. At this time, we shall take our leave of this group, leaving you as we found you, in the love and the light of the one infinite Creator. We are known to you as those of Quo. Adonai Vas Bragas.
All right. Thank you. So there you have it. We're in the most difficult part of the journey that we will ever take, guys. How do you feel about that? Does that resonate?
That's comforting.
I think that,
Yeah.
with time going fast, I mean, everyone knows it. Or, if, a lot of people feel it. A lot of catalysts coming up, the whole climate of everything. Yeah, that's definitely meant for the catalyst to kick in so things can just go into overdrive so we can get out of here.
Well, yeah, and processing that catalyst routinely with service, forgiveness, love, kindness, and service to others, respect for free will. That is the way to get out of here. And helping other people know that helps the world to ascend. And the sooner we do that, the sooner we help other people wake up, the more of the planet can be maintained, the more of the biosphere can be saved. Because it is usually when people are acting in fear that they're destroying the environment, because they don't feel like they have enough and they feel like they need to take from the environment. But if they are in the space of all is well and all will be well, then they can leave it be. They can find a way to work with nature rather than against it. Like I remember this one example of someone who was growing a plum tree, and then they pruned it in the autumn, which is like, the highest fungal season. You're not supposed to do that, and it got infected with a fungus. And then they were like, we can't grow plums here because there's too much fungus. But then I explained, like, I looked into it, and basically this fungus, it only becomes dominant when there's no regular funguses around. And so it was just an overly sterilized environment. It didn't have enough diversity, and it needs like wood chips and things like that, so you can have the healthy funguses and the healthy bugs and things like that, and they would eat up the bad funguses. So if you're willing to work with nature, it works with you. All right, guys. Any questions anyone has? We still got 8 minutes or 7 minutes. Anything anyone would like to explore? How about you, Bill? We don't see you here often. Have you been working on any catalyst lately? I'm just putting you on the spot.
What I've been working on is acceptance. That's just accepting everything that comes my way. Letting it go. There's a lot of stuff a lot of unprocessed catalysts I've had in my life, so I need to process it and accept it and love it.
Very good.
So that's the mission. That's the mission for me.
Good.
I have an update on some catalyst.
Okay, go ahead.
The gentleman that I work with that was offering catalyst to, well, everyone around me at work, not just specifically me. We had a little, a couple weeks ago, we had a little powwow with him, and I helped with talking with him with other people. We convinced him to not quit his job, and we convinced him to go to a program. So he did. We were actually like wondering whether or not he would actually go through with doing a program, but he's enrolled in a 12-step program of some kind. It's like Narcotics Anonymous, I think. And he's been going through it. Well, the one guy at work this week, he was complaining about it because he's been being really weird. But you're talking about a guy who's been an alcoholic for 30 years, a drug addict. He's a fentanyl addict, and he's quit all of that stuff. He's gonna be he's gonna have some problems. So he was complaining about the emotional things that he's been displaying, and I said, listen, I want him to go through this program. If you discourage him, I'm going to knock your lights out instead of him for being a jerk all the time. I want him to continue this program. He's going through a 12-step. I know it's weird. Just, I would rather deal with that than somebody that's dangerous and also hurting themselves. But this week he went around everyone and wrote us little letters telling us things that he liked about us and things that he appreciated.
That's really
I wanted to read you the one that he wrote for me.
Sure. Go ahead.
He said, Fred, your off-the-wall intelligence and caring words, conversations, your calmness, family values, your wisdom, and your ability to never give up. That's what he admired.
Wow,
So
that's great.
I thought that was sweet, and I know not every, a lot of guys, they're, got to be manly, blah, blah, whatever. But, I don't care. I appreciate it, and I'll say that to whoever, and definitely stick up for somebody going. I know it's weird. It's probably very awkward for him and embarrassing, and I'm glad that I'm able to stick up for him when he's going through this. It makes me
Great.
feel like he's actually going to get some help, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually might, I'm going on 7 years no hard drugs, freaking
Nice.
But
Good.
but to me it sounds like he's shown compassion to you, but he might appreciate what you did for him at the same time. He might not be going out there saying like straight out, but at the same time, that's what it sounds like. Like there's definitely a deeper meaning in that. It might be helping him get to the next step. And that's how it works. I mean, I helped a TV reality star from Ireland get clean. She's still working to get her children back, but it was definitely a success. She's getting married to somebody new and all that. Her name's Jennifer Murphy, and it's definitely a good thing. I would take every little thing, piece them together, because that's how hard it is when you're fighting demons like that. Like, I mean, I didn't sleep for almost 2 years detoxing off of opiates and shit. Like,
Wow.
and then when I went to detox, I never touched hard drugs again. So that's all you really need to know. I drink whatever. I don't care about that because I have to go out and be myself too. But that's all I have to tell you. But I think that was a great job, Fred, and I would keep on helping him, even if there's a few rough days, because that's how it is with all of us. And inside that group of girls that I've told you about, it's definitely like that. Everybody fucks up. So
Mhm.
Just remember that.
All right. Well, I wanted to read through this Power of Acceptance, Embracing Catalyst Through the Eyes of the Creator. The Confederation, through voices like Kuo and Ra, teaches the acceptance is the cornerstone of the positive path. More than mere tolerance, acceptance is the sacred act of opening the heart to oneself, others, and all experiences. It is through acceptance that we transmute catalyst, those events that trigger discomfort, into opportunities for deep spiritual growth. What is acceptance? Acceptance is truly key. Understanding, loving, learning, but always at the core, accepting. Cool. Acceptance is the willing embrace of what is, without resistance or judgment. It includes loving yourself in your imperfection, welcoming others in their confusion, and recognizing every experience as a teacher. This energy aligns us with the flow of the Creator, freeing us from control, fear, and the cycles of repeated catalyst. The catalyst, fuel for growth. Catalyst is food for growth. Catalyst can be emotional pain, conflict, physical hardship, or existential confusion. It is designed to disturb our equilibrium, not to punish, but to show us where we are still close to love. When we resist catalyst, we cycle it endlessly. When we accept it, we transform it. Practices for healthy acceptance. Sit with catalyst in meditation. Relive the moment. Observe your emotions and breathe into them. Invite the presence of love and say inwardly, "This too is part of me." Begin with self acceptance. The Creator does not judge you. The universe does not judge you. It is only your thoughts. Forgive your reactions. Be kind to your inner child. Only in loving yourself can you process external triggers with grace. Balance with the opposite emotion. It is the catalyst evokes If the catalyst evokes fear, meditate on safety. If it evokes anger, meditate on compassion. Trust the sacredness of all experiences. Even if what is met is resisted or run from, that too teaches. Know that your soul chose these exact experiences to deepen its journey back to unity. Acceptance versus control. The key to the positive path is acceptance. The key to the negative path is control. Cool. Control tries to avoid, fix, or dominate experience. Acceptance flows with it, learns from it, and reclaims the light hidden within. A final reflection. Acceptance is the divine art of saying yes to your path, exactly as it is. It is not passive, it is the most active, loving choice a soul can make. In each act of acceptance, we become more transparent to the light of the Creator. The more that the self can dwell in this forgiven, redemptive state, the more that the Creator can shine through. Cool. All right. What do you guys think of that? Bill?
Oh, that's beyond excellence.
Right.
It's exactly what we all need to do if we're on the positive path. Love and acceptance, acceptance of yourself first, and loving yourself first, forgiving the self. Not judging the self. Just go with the flow, and if you screw up, and if you you behave some way you really don't like, like it says, take that catalyst into meditation, work with it, look at the opposite side, and that's perfect. I mean, you can't get better than this Confederation philosophy and suggestions they give us.
Yes. Yes. It's true. Yeah, it's some of the best catalyst or literature I've ever come across in I think not just this planet, but many planets that I've been to. you know, it's really amazing. I know I've said before that like the Confederation material is like a book of the Confederation material is worth more than its weight in diamonds. Because of how much it can help your soul progress.
Hey, Andrii, Are you going to start at 5 o'clock next week too?
Well, I usually start at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. I thought it was 5:30. My bad.
Well, we usually go live around 5:30. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Or 5:20, something like that. Your time.
Hey, and in your Facebook message, I asked you a question, and if you can get around to it, see if you
sure.
can answer it.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Yes. So this
I
is Jennifer.
I thought it was a good one.
Okay.
Seeing what you think.
Okay. I'll do my best. So yeah, any other comments from you guys about acceptance or anything else before we close? Nope. Okay. Well, I'll just quickly post this and then we will do our outro. The power of acceptance. Okay, so as I found you, I leave you in the love and in the light of the infinite creator. Go forth, therefore, rejoicing in the infinite power and the infinite peace of the creator within you and all around you, my friends. Adonai Vasabaragos. All right, I've ended the stream. You guys.